She was born into the most powerful empire the ancient world had ever seen. It stretched from the edge of Greece to the borders of India, and at its center was a throne that ruled everything. She grew up inside that world, and she was taught one thing early: how power works, how it moves, how it survives, and what it costs. Because empires like this don't fall quietly, and Persia had already made an enemy. His name was Alexander, and everything was about to change. Her name was Stateira, daughter of Darius III, and this is the story history moved past far too quickly. To understand Stateira, you have to understand Persia. At its height, it was the largest empire the world had ever seen. More than 50 million people, 23 nations, dozens of languages, all governed from one throne. At the center of that world was Persepolis. Not just a capital, a statement that Persia was not just powerful, it was permanent. Stateira grew up inside that system. She was educated in diplomacy, in court politics, in the quiet structure that kept empires from collapsing. She was not raised to be ornamental. She was raised to understand power. Her family carried weight even their enemies recognized. When her mother died in captivity, Alexander himself ordered mourning. That tells you everything. These were not people easily erased. But by the time Stateira understood the world she lived in, it was already being taken apart. In 334 BC, Alexander crossed into Persian territory. He was 22, fast, relentless, and underestimated. The decisive moment came at Issus. Darius III led the army himself. He had the numbers, he had the ground, he expected to win. He didn't. Darius fled. He left behind his wealth, his throne symbols, and his family. Stateira was captured, along with her mother, her sister, her grandmother. Women who had stood at the center of the Persian world, now standing in the camp of the man who had taken it. Alexander chose to treat them with respect, not as prisoners, as guests, which was his own kind of cage. Stateira moved through all of it with something the sources repeatedly note: control. She adapted, she did not break. And that composure would later be seen as something far more dangerous. 9 years later, Alexander made a decision. At Susa, he held a mass wedding. 80 of his commanders married Persian noblewomen, and he chose Stateira. This was not symbolic, it was strategic. Stateira was the daughter of the man he defeated. She carried the legitimacy of the empire he replaced. By marrying her, Alexander wasn't just taking a wife. He was absorbing a dynasty, and Stateira understood exactly what that meant. The sources don't give her voice, but they give her presence. She remained composed, controlled, unmoved. She didn't disappear into this new world. She moved through it, intact. The Macedonian court was not stable. It was filled with men who had fought together for years and trusted each other just enough, and not enough. Into that world, Stateira brought something no one else could replicate: a claim. Not ambition, not influence. A claim. If she had a child, that child would inherit both worlds. That made her important. It also made her dangerous. She maintained connections, recognition, memory. She remained who she had always been, and not everyone was willing to let that exist. Alexander died in 323 BC, 32 years old, no confirmed heir, and in that moment, Stateira became one of the most important figures in the empire. After Alexander's death, everything became calculation. Who survives? Who rules? Who needs to be removed? Stateira's position was clear. She had legitimacy. She had recognition. She may have carried an heir. That made her powerful. It also made her a target. There was another woman in that court who understood this immediately. She moved first. A letter arrived, sealed, official. Stateira went. She knew what this court had become. She did not return. Her sister was killed with her. She was in her mid-20s. History recorded it and moved on. Stateira lived through the collapse of the greatest empire the ancient world had known. She was captured, displaced, repositioned. And through all of it, she remained herself. That is not a small thing. Her composure was not passivity. It was control. In a world where power was constantly shifting, she held something rare, continuity. She was killed because her legitimacy was real. Because her presence reminded everyone the Persian Empire had not disappeared. It still existed through her. Stateira II of Persia, not a footnote, not a casualty. A woman who carried the weight of a fallen empire with more precision than most people carry ordinary lives. History moved past her, faster than it should have. We are not going to. The woman who had her killed was named Roxana. Her story is just as complex, just as difficult, and just as necessary. You can find it on this channel. If this stayed with you, subscribe to her sacred legacy. There are more women like her. The next one is already waiting.